Well, it's been a while since I recorded my kick-ass curry cooking video, and a few of you have been kind enough to message me to say that you really enjoyed that video and you'd like to see some more recipes. So today I thought I'd cook a chicken ramen broth with noodles. Fancy joining me? Welcome to Rog Vlog. So let's get stuck into this recipe for chicken ramen broth with noodles. It's the sort of thing you would find at restaurants like Wagamama. There are three main stages that we're going to go through today. First of all, we're going to prepare some chicken in marinade. Then we're going to prepare and cook the broth, and that's going to be really spicy and aromatic, and it's going to have an amazing colour. And thirdly, it's all the garnish that we're going to put on top of that ramen broth. Now this recipe is for two people, and I'm going to start off with 2 chicken breasts. And what I want to do with the chicken breasts is to slice them really quite thinly, and for that I'm going to be using a rather large meat cleaver. And I want to cut the slices on an angle. And once we get it in the pan, it's going to cook quite quickly, and that marinade is going to caramelize against the pan, and it's going to create a sort of brown crust around the chicken. It's going to be absolutely delicious. Once we've cut the chicken up, we want to use some white pepper, some dark soy sauce, and some sesame oil. Now we're going to add the white pepper to the chicken and give it a quick mix around, and then a tablespoon each of the soy sauce and a tablespoon of the sesame oil. And then we're going to stir all of that into the chicken so it coats all of the pieces. And then we're going to leave that to marinate for about an hour. Now whilst the chicken's marinating, we're going to start to prepare the broth. So I've got here some lemongrass stalks. I'm just going to put those on the chopping board, and I'm going to slice into them. I'm not going to chop them up into pieces, I'm just going to slice into them so that the flavours from the lemongrass can come out into the broth. Also got a handful of ginger. Now what we're going to do with the ginger is just chop it up into small chunks. There's no need to peel the ginger because we're going to strain the broth before we eat it, so it doesn't matter about the skin. So let's just put that on the chopping board and chop it into chunks. Then we want to add a bit of spice to the broth. So I've got some red and green bird eye chilies here. Now it's up to you how many of these you use. I'm going to use 4, and again I'm going to take these out before we eat it so that it's not kick-ass, head-blowingly hot. But if you want it a little bit hotter, just add some more chilies into the recipe. Once I get these on the chopping board, I'm just going to do a quick slice down the center. Again, not chopping them into pieces, just so that the seeds can bleed into the water and the chicken stock to come. Talking of chicken stock, today I'm simply going to be using Knorr stock cubes. It's the easy way out. Now you could use proper chicken stock if you've taken the time to make it, but this is just the easy version. And I'm going to be using probably about 3 of these Knorr chicken stock cubes in about 1 litre of water. We also need a tin of coconut milk for the broth, and I'm going to add that once we start cooking. And finally, to give the broth an amazing colour, I'm going to add a little bit of turmeric, about 1 teaspoon, maybe 1.5 teaspoons of turmeric to the broth as we cook it. Amazing colour that, isn't it? We also need some garlic. I'm going to put about 3 or 4 cloves into the broth, and what I'm going to use is a garlic press, put it through the garlic press into a ramekin so that I can stick that in the pan once we start cooking. And I'm just going to take you through the final set of ingredients. These are mainly for the garnish, which we'll get to towards the end. First up, we've got some shiitake mushrooms. Now I'm not going to cut these into small pieces, maybe each mushroom into 2, and we're going to add those to the chicken later as we fry it. Then we're going to need some spring onions, and we're going to cut these up on the chopping board into quite small pieces, and we can keep quite a lot of the green stuff as well. I do like the green stuff. A packet of coriander, and we're going to use some of this in the broth as we cook, and we're also going to use this to garnish the finished dish. So I'm going to put this on the chopping board, and we're going to cut it up into very small pieces. a packet of bean sprouts. However, we're not going to use the entire packet. Maybe about a third of these bean sprouts. We'll add them to the dish just before serving. And the last ingredient, the very important noodles, which we put into the broth. Now, I prefer a brand of noodles called Shin Cup, which come in a very vibrant red packet. But today I couldn't find any of those, so I've got these alternative noodles which come in a rather vibrant green packet. Well, that's all the prep done. Let's get into the cookery, and we're going to start with the broth. I've got this quite high-sided pan because we're going to create quite a lot of liquid, starting off with a little bit of rapeseed oil. A glug of rapeseed oil. That's all we need. Next up, we're going to stick the lemongrass into the pan. I'll just give it a quick stir. Swiftly followed by that handful of ginger cubes. Next, in go those bird eye chilies, the green ones and the red ones. And then finally, in goes the garlic, the crushed garlic. Let's give it a good stir. Now, I don't want to burn any of these ingredients, so I'm going to put a small amount of water into the pan to stop it from burning. Even though they've only been frying for a couple of minutes, the smell is already starting to seep into the kitchen. It smells absolutely gorgeous, those aromatics and those spices. And then I'm going to add those 3 Knorr chicken stock cubes into the pan. And we're going to start to mix them as they dissolve. Now, I know this looks a little bit clunky at the moment, but believe me, once this gets cooked and once it's stood for a little while and matured, the flavour's going to be amazing. As those cubes dissolve, I'm going to top the pan up a little bit more so that we've got overall about 1 litre of water in the pan. As that broth starts to come to the boil, it's time to add some of that turmeric. Remember, about 1.5 teaspoons. And as we stir that turmeric into the sauce, it takes on that beautiful golden yellow colour. Looks amazing. And finally, let's add the coconut milk. That's going to take a little bit of the heat away from those bird's eye chilies. And let's give it a stir. Now it's starting to look much more like a ramen broth, that beautiful golden yellow colour. We're going to bring it to the boil and then we're going to let it simmer very gently for about half an hour. But we must make sure it doesn't boil dry, so keep your eye on it. Whilst the broth is simmering and whilst that chicken is still marinating, I'm going to pop off and have a quick coffee. I'll be back in about half an hour to finish the dish off. Welcome back. I've strained the broth. I put it through a sieve, got rid of all the lemongrass, all the ginger, all the bits of chilli, so it's now a beautiful, smooth sauce. And let's give it a taste. Oh yeah, I can taste all of those ingredients, but maybe a little bit more salt and possibly a few chili flakes just to give it a little bit of extra kick. Well, that's the broth looking and tasting fantastic. Let's now cook the chicken and those shiitake mushrooms. Into the wok goes some rapeseed oil. Another glug. Well, here's that marinated chicken. See how nice and brown and colourful it is. Now that's going to caramelise when we put it in the pan. So let's do that now. I love the sizzle. Now we're going to leave the meat to cook for a little while so that it does get really brown and it really has a chance to caramelise. That's where the really intense flavour is going to come from. So resist the temptation to stir fry it just yet. After about 2 minutes, we can give it a quick stir around the pan. See how the meat has already browned quite nicely as that marinade caramelises. Next up, all those shiitake mushrooms straight into the pan. Believe it or not, we're almost there. Whilst the mushrooms and the chicken finish cooking, I'm just going to boil those noodles and then we'll be almost done. Okay, the noodles are cooked and strained. I've added half the coriander into the broth. Now it's time to plate. Okay, let's start with some noodles. Then we're going to take the chicken and the shiitakes and lay those across the top of the noodles. And now here comes the broth. Let's just ladle it in. Look at that fantastic yellow colour. Golden yellow. Spring onions on one side, coriander on the other side, and finally about a third of the packet between two of those beautiful crispy bean sprouts. Well, there you have it, chicken ramen broth and noodles. Looks fantastic, smells fantastic. Let's dig in. Oh yeah, that broth is absolutely gorgeous. I can taste the lemongrass and the ginger and the chilli. Superb. And the chicken, swimming in broth. Tender. Absolutely gorgeous. thank you so much for watching this episode of Rog Vlog. I hope you'll go away now and make your own chicken ramen. If you've got a better recipe or you'd like me to cook something else, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, remember, there's always something to see and to eat, so get out there and find it. Well, it's been a while since I cooked my kick, not kiss. First up, some shiitake mushrooms. Now I'm going to slice these, again not too small, a couple of slices for each mushroom will be a packet of bean sprouts, actually not the full packet. We'll use maybe about 2/3, no we won't.